Hello and welcome to Inside Sports Talk. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great evening. I am your host, Joanna Rosalie, and I am joined today by Ed Cole. Welcome back, Ed Cole. I was about to call you Cole. See what happens when you have two names in your name? That's first and last. I just called
Okay.
you Cole.
Yes, it's okay. I'm used to
But
being called that in the military. That's all they called us. Cole,
I
Cole, Cole.
yes. So I missed you. Welcome back.
Thank you. How are you?
I am amazing. I'm wonderful. I'm peachy. However you want to put it.
Aren't you always?
Think, yeah, 99.9% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So are you excited and talk some sports today? Talk some NBA playoffs, a little bit of NFL as we lead into the NFL draft, which is actually tomorrow night, and also a little bit of WNBA and talk some Mercury. It was their media day today too, so I kind of
Of
have to touch a
course.
little bit on that.
Oh yeah. So much stuff to talk about. Let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with the East and then head on west, Ed. With the I mean not the WNBA. See, I already wanted to be the WNBA playoffs so that the Mercury can go to the finals again, and this time bring a ring home. I'm like so wild up with WNBA. Okay, let's chill out for a moment. The NBA playoffs. In the Eastern Conference, we already have two teams who will have advanced to the second round, and those two teams are Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, and they each are awaiting their opponent. So Miami did defeat Atlanta Hawks 4-1 in that series, and then we have Boston defeated the Brooklyn Nets. That series went 4-0, so it was a clean sweep. So Steve Nash, which we'll get ahead and get into here in momentarily, we'll see what happens with him in the season, and then we have Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors. We have Philadelphia leading that series 3-2, and then we have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. Milwaukee leading that series 3-1. So very, it's either like all to one end where like it's like pretty much a sweep, or we have it kind of a little bit on what's gonna happen here. So there's like no in between. It's either like two extremes, Ed.
You're right. Yeah, there is no gray area. You're right. It's either 4-1 Miami over Atlanta or it's 4-0 sweep. Boston over the Boston over Brooklyn, and then possibly it looks like the Bucks are going to close out the Bulls tonight, so that'll be a 4-1 series in favor of the Bucks. But I'm excited about what potentially could be Bucks and Celtics in the second round. That's going to be a really good semifinals matchup. I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm definitely excited for that one too. I don't want to go ahead and come, too far ahead on that one because, Chicago does have a little bit of a fight, but I don't know that they will be able to, really do like what Bucks did last season and do a full sweep and come back from it from, a lot from such a, major loss, which they're having, where they're at now. But that's going to be fun. Boston Celtics, even just the Boston and Brooklyn, even though Brooklyn did not win one game, it was still a very exciting series to watch. And I have a feeling that the Brooklyn, not Brooklyn, sorry, Boston and the Milwaukee Bucks will have that same type of, like not challenge, but just intensity with the going into this series. So should these two meet up?
Oh yeah, because they're two excellent defensive basketball teams, and we know they've got some scorers on there. They've got the Greek freak in Milwaukee, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is absolute phenomenon, and you've got Jalen Brown, who's playing out of his mind over there in Boston, along with Jason Tatum, along with Jalen Brown. They're both playing out of their minds, but Tatum, he's playing at an
Mm-hmm.
MVP level right now, and the way they were able to dispatch Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets, it wasn't an easy fashion, as you mentioned. They were competitive games, they were tight games, but I was really surprised that they went on ahead and that Brooklyn didn't even get a game. That was really surprising to me. I thought it would have been a closer series. I thought it would have went at least 6 games, Joe. 6, 7 games maybe because of the star power that both of these basketball teams have. But it just showed how much of a superior basketball team Boston was, that they were able to just knock them out in 4 straight.
No, definitely. I totally agree. And yeah, it was great. But come on, Boston Celtics also have the defensive player of the year, which, we won't get into that discussion, but, with Marcus Smart, but, it's only, granted that they would advance, but I am sad to see that the Brooklyn Nets didn't, will not be seeing anything further in the playoffs. And, interested to see what's going to happen with Steve Nash, because he's already previously to the playoffs has already been under the hot seat, and now there's questioning, is he the right person to coach this team? Saying about personality wise and like leadership and so forth. So just interesting to see what's going to happen now in their off season for the Brooklyn Nets. And will Steve Nash stick around, or will he be shown the door?
It'll be interesting to see. You're right, Joanna, with having Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and at the time they had James Harden before they shipped him off to Philadelphia. Expectations were seriously super high for this basketball team. They came into the season, other than the Lakers, odds-on favorites to win the entire thing, to win a world championship, and they got into the playoffs and didn't win a single game over Boston. So, of course, it was an absolute failure that they weren't even able to get out of the first round and move on to the semifinals. And again, with that kind of star power, that kind of talent they have on that roster, I know they were dealing with some injuries, and they were dealing with Kyrie's situation with the COVID vaccinations and him refusing to take the vaccinations, and him playing some games and him not playing some games, and then eventually him being able to play all the games. So they had so many distractions, and like I said, injuries, and just it was so much drama surrounding this basketball team. It was hard for them to come out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately. And then, if we look for who's going to be facing the Miami Heat, it's between Philadelphia 76ers, which is leading the series right now, against Toronto Raptors. They don't face off until tomorrow night for game 6. I'm trying to do my math here. That's the reason for the delay. But yes, for game 6. So who knows what could happen here, because Toronto's not too bad of a team either. They are a potential threat, or can be, for the Philadelphia 76ers.
They are, because the Sixers had them 3-0, Joe, and then they came back and Toronto won the last 2 games. And we know Joel Embiid is dealing with a ligament injury in his hand, so he's not completely 100%. And they go back to Toronto. They've got the momentum. The Raptors do. They potentially win game 6 tomorrow night at home, and then force a game 7 in Philadelphia. You know how game 7s go, Joanna. It's all up in the air. All bets are off. No, I'm not closing my eyes. I'm watching game 7. Should it go to game 7?
Yeah, well, that's how I feel about game 7s. They are exciting. They do keep you at the edge of your seat, and have to kind of like fasten your seatbelt too. And then at the same time, you really don't want to watch. And it also depends on who it is that's playing and who you're going for. So
it's like for you, Joanna, it's like you watching the NFC Championship game and the Green Bay Packers are in it.
It's like watching Green Bay Pack, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady going up against each other. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or Gonzaga losing the national championship. Anyway, moving on. Let's go ahead and go on west. We have Memphis, and then we have Minnesota. Memphis is leading that series 3-2. So this is one of those series, and me previously talking to others, and also on the podcast where you were away at with Ed Smith, and then also Chris on court side. That was expected to be the type of series that it is turning out to be, because Memphis was not being given, I think, and even Minnesota, enough credit of how competitive these two teams are. They're just kind of coming under the radar, and not a lot of light until now, of course, being shed of the type of game that they bring onto the court. So, Minnesota's still not completely out. We have game 5, game 6, that's actually on Friday. So Minnesota can come back and still tie that series 3-3, and we potentially see a game 7.
Of course, but it was so tough for them to lose that game last night, Joanna. They had a big lead in Memphis over the Grizzlies, and they allowed the Grizzlies to come back. They outscored them by 13 in the fourth quarter, and then Ja Morant just went off and made some posterized dunks, made that game-winning shot. I don't know how he adjusted his body in midair and made that shot, Joanna. That was unbelievable. So what Ja is able to do, and what he was able to do from a Superman-type performance last night, to rally them back to victory, that was stunning to me. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Just you mentioning that and like thinking and like seeing that in my head right now and replay over and over and over and seeing that poster dunk, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was like, that's like made for movie. Like he's just something else, and he totally is a competitive player, and he is playing, and these teams are playing playoff basketball.
Yes. So what I want to see is what Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves can do back at home for game 6. Can they go back and get that game and force a game 7? We'll see.
It's going to be exciting to watch. So I'll pop some popcorn and watch some of that game.
And of course, they've got to be kicking themselves thinking, goodness, we had that game. We should be going back to Minnesota up 3-2 instead of down 3-2.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
But what can you do at this moment now?
Yep.
Then we go ahead and we're going over to Golden State Warriors and the Denver Nuggets. So Golden State leads that series 3-1. So Denver did come up with a little bit of a fight in them the other day, and they won't really be going out, on 0 note. So we'll see what happens in game 5, which is actually tonight. If Denver can continue on fighting and go ahead and inch closer into coming into one game closer against Golden State and make that 3-2. But or maybe it can be over tonight, and Golden State will be the first team to advance on the West to round 2.
Joe, the Denver Nuggets are well versed at coming back from 3-1 deficits, right? They've done it over the last couple of seasons. They pulled victory out of the jaws of defeat multiple times in the playoffs, but against this team, against this Golden State Warriors team, I don't see it happening. No.
It is Golden State, and it is Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, but I think it's possible that Denver can win possibly tonight, but then, yeah, I don't know. It'll be fun to watch.
I would think the Warriors would want to put them out right now. Knock them out tonight. Make sure there's no chance that they can have a game 6 back in Denver. And then should they win back in Denver, here we go again with another game 7. So it's on the Warriors to close this thing out tonight.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be surprising if Denver does win. I will say that, but then at the same time, I would not be so surprised if Denver comes out like they did the other night and comes out with another win, because that was a sight to see. So we'll definitely find out the verdict of that duel tonight. So, and then we go ahead and go on to with the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. Dallas is leading that series 3-2. So that's a very close matchup right there. So we have game 6 that's being played tomorrow. So that can go ahead and possibly close it out for Dallas, or maybe Utah can come out with the win and go ahead and tie that series 3-3.
It just depends on Donovan Mitchell. If he's ready to go, if his hamstring is going to hold up so he could possibly play, that would give Utah a better shot of winning the game. Of course, Donovan, he is the man. He is the face of that franchise. And we saw what happened the other night in that game when Dallas blew them out. It was just a one-sided affair. So if Donovan's there, they've got a much better shot of beating Dallas.
Yeah. I think that, this team, they're very evenly matched, whether you have Luka or not, or you have Donovan or not. It's just very evenly, and they're making those adjustments. And then also, I think that Utah wasn't being given enough credit as well, because although it was expected to possibly even have Dallas just go ahead and get Utah out, and and without trouble, and for them to advance to the second round. But actually, that's not the case.
And don't you love when guys like Jalen Brunson, guys step up in the playoffs and they have huge games to help their basketball team? So Jalen has come up and played outstanding basketball for the Dallas Mavericks in this series. And he's one of the primary reasons why they have a shot of knocking out Utah.
He's going to be a guy to definitely continue to look out for should Dallas go ahead and advance to round two. And then even after the playoffs are over in the finals, that's going to be a guy to have your eye on. And well, this is what it's like postseason. This is postseason. This is where stars are also made. Where you shine, and yes, you are a quality player, a caliber player during the regular season, but this is all eyes are on you when you have moments like that, like he is having, and it's going to go ahead and write a whole new story going forward.
And the majority of teams that win the NBA championship, they have what? They have outstanding backcourt play. And that's what Dallas has right now with Luka and Brunson playing as well as they did. They had 57 points the other night in that blowout against Dallas. So if those young men continue to play well, they get that good backcourt play. Joanna, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with as they go on in the playoffs, as we get deeper in this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know who I want to win because, of course, here we then go on to the Phoenix Suns and the New Orleans Pelicans. We have Phoenix leading that series 3-2. And this series has not been easy for the Phoenix Suns. And this has been actually the match that I expected it to be. New Orleans Pelicans, not a lot, again, many not giving the Pelicans credit where credit is due. And mind you, you can't forget that who the coach is for the Pelicans. It's Willie Green. So he knows the Suns. He knows Monty Williams. He knows the playbook. He knows the weaknesses, the strengths. So he knows this team and these players very well. So it's only expected for the type of game and that's being played to be so close. So tomorrow is game 6 in New Orleans. So see if Phoenix can go ahead and come out on top and go ahead and close this out. And they need to go ahead and close it out because you really don't want to go into a game 7 and like they're going to leave blood, sweat, and tears on the court. And that's the last thing that you want for the Phoenix Suns. And so, granted, you also, mind you, they have Devin Booker out. There's words that possibility he may be back for the game tomorrow. But for me, I see it highly doubtful.
It would be great if he would be cleared to play in game 6. That would give them a huge step up. That would give them a huge lift in New Orleans because we know how crazy it gets down there in New Orleans at the Smoothie King Center. We saw it in those 2 games they played there, even though the Suns and the Pelicans split that game. That place gets just as rowdy and raucous as it does over at Footprint Center. So if they could have if they could have D Book back for game 6, wow, would that not be a lift for this basketball team coming off the game 5 win and the way Mikal Bridges and that team played, and they gritted out a tough victory, a 15-point victory over a game Pelicans basketball team? That would be great.
Yeah. No, that it would be great, but you also, mind you, Devin Booker hasn't played for almost 2 weeks, give or take a few days. So going in here, Devin Booker is not going to be full on Devin Booker. I know he's going to want to be, but is he really going to be that? Probably not. So the other thing, which was with last night's victory for the Phoenix Suns, was the game plan, that strategy that Monty Williams introduced, which was Bismack Biyombo and Aaron Holiday. Go ahead and bringing them off the bench and go ahead and making that rotation between DeAndre and JaVale McGee, including Bismack Biyombo in there. And then also throwing a little bit, Jay Crowder into the paint. So that having those combinations, which is something I had mentioned, and I believe that he should have done that from the beginning of the series and even before the playoffs to go ahead and so they wouldn't be in this situation and get more of that communication and kind of smooth any kinks out that needed to be when it would come time for that. But he did it finally last night, not too late, since hopefully he's able to go ahead and continue to do so tomorrow night.
Yes, because Monty saw what happened in the NBA Finals last year, didn't he, Joe? He saw what Giannis did against them, and he knew that he needed to up his basketball team when it comes to the front court. He knows he's solid back there. He's got a Hall of Famer. He's got a first ballot Hall of Famer. Whenever CP3 is ready to walk off, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer right there. You've got one of the most dynamic young shooting guards in the National Basketball Association, Devin Booker. So he's set as far as the backcourt goes. You bring in Mikal Bridges, you bring in you bring all these guys in. They're solid in the backcourt, but they knew they needed to step things up. That's why they got JaVale McGee and they got they got Biyombo, because they knew they had to strengthen that part of it to make to kind of to galvanize DeAndre Ayton and of course to push him and continue to propel him by having great guys behind him.
Yeah, because you can't always rely on DeAndre, and then there'll be those moments where he has great moments. He has a phenomenal first half, but then that second half, he kind of goes down on that second half in that third quarter. So you need someone as a backup, or even someone who can go in and help open the paint, get in, create those open spaces. And then also one of the things that they kind of need to work with and come up with a strategy, and interested to know how they're going to do that. They did, they were able to go ahead and adjust for that in the matchup between Alvarado and Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to go ahead and do some adjustments there, but still I think there needs to be more fine tuning, because that feisty Alvarado can be some trouble. So if you can have maybe DeAndre and go ahead and come in and kind of be a 2-on-1 against Alvarado and go ahead and drive him off Chris Paul to go, so that way he can go ahead and do his thing, or something like that, as well. And then also with Aaron Holiday coming off the bench, maybe not use Torrey Craig so much and use Holiday, because we saw how effective he was last night as well.
Yeah, it is on Coach Williams and his staff to figure out the best lineups, the best rotations that they can bring in to counteract, as you mentioned, what Alvarado is able to do. That kid, the rookie from Georgia Tech, I love the way he plays basketball, and he loves to get up in CP3. He loves to try to play that lockdown basketball. That's what you want to do. That's what you want your young rookies to do, to have no fear going up against a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let the kid go out there and play his heart out. I love these young kids that are stepping up come playoff time.
Yeah. So he did cause Chris Paul to make some errors, in which we don't see Chris Paul do ever. So Chris Paul was a little bit better with it last night, not being as frustrated, and kind of maneuver that and just keep his cool and his calm. But there's still a little bit more tweaks that need to happen, and hopefully they continue to go ahead and study that tape and come out victorious tomorrow night, and they can go ahead and advance to round 2 into the playoffs, and see whether that's Dallas, which is possibility, but they could also be facing Utah. So I'm really not counting Utah out so quickly.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of basketball to be played. Just what Utah would have to do, they'd of course have to win and then force a game 7 and see where it goes from there. But yeah, that would be interesting. Either Dallas or Utah in the second round. But of course, the Suns can't worry about that. They've got to worry about what's going on tomorrow night down in Louisiana. They can't worry about nothing else but taking care of New Orleans and getting them out of there.
Yeah. So should the Phoenix Suns make it to round 2, and we're awful hopeful that they will make it to round 2, who do you prefer to have them face in that round?
I want Dallas.
You want Dallas? You want Luka?
I want Luka and the Mavericks. Yes. Mm-hmm. Because you remember all the talk that was surrounding why the Suns, Luka and Ayton in that draft that year. People are still talking about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. And it's probably always going to be there, never going to go away anyway.
Of course. Yeah. So, who do you want, Joe?
I think either. I can't pick one. Either one's not going to be easy for the Phoenix Suns. It's going to be a great series, but I would like to see a Luka and Devin Booker matchup in the playoffs.
That'd be great. Mm-hmm.
That would be some great basketball right there.
So how do you think that would work out? Being that Luka's a point, how would that work out with him going up against CP3? How do you think the matchups would work out should this come to light that they meet in the semifinals? There's so many
Hmm.
intriguing matchups, right, Joe? It could go
Yeah,
a million different ways.
that is a good question.
Hmm.
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 I hadn't thought about it that far
But
ahead.
I think the way Brunson is playing, Brunson against Booker, should this happen, that'd be a really good war between those two young men as far as shooting guards go.
Just all around, all this talent with Dallas and the talent with the Phoenix Suns is just. I don't think there can be a better semifinals matchup than that. That's just the best of the best in caliber basketball. Not to discount Pelicans or the Jazz. They're still great teams, but if you really wanting to get down and scrappy, I think these two, the Suns and the Mavericks, are the teams to give you that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I have to ask you with the Golden State Warriors, who do you want them going off against between Memphis and Minnesota? Should Golden State advance?
I want Golden State and Memphis. That'd be a really good series.
Yeah, me
See what
too.
see what Ja can do against Curry and Steph, Curry and Clay. Mm. Oh,
You read my mind. It's exactly what was the visual that was going on my head is just Curry and John Morant, and then just how that's gonna be so intense, and then just the physicality of that, and that's gonna be a really real draining series. Should
yes.
that those two teams go at it?
Yep, because we know when it gets to the semifinals, to the conference finals, and the NBA finals, everything gets way more physical, Joanna, and these defenses lock down even more than what we see in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm even getting drained and worn out from all the intensity. I can only imagine the players.
Oh, of
How they're
course. Oh my
feeling.
goodness.
Gosh,
Oh
even
yeah.
although Mikal Bridges, he was like ready to go again last night and just like talking about the game and how it all went and just getting ready to go back out on the court. He was just like itching, to just get back up there. I'm like, oh my goodness, like because it is of course the adrenaline, and all of the hype that makes you just want to not stop playing.
And Joe, that's the beautiful thing about youth. Being 25 and he's got the
True.
world at his fingertips and he can do whatever he wants. It's a beautiful thing about being that young and being that powerful and being that kind of athlete that can just run for 47 minutes of basketball, Joe, and he's ready to do it again.
Mm-hmm. The joys of being young and invincible.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask you, with the teams that we have left now here, which of course we only have two advancing to or at least over the results that we see, who do you see advancing to the semifinals, or who do you, or if you want to talk, from your heart, or if you want to talk from, logically, your noggin.
Well, it looks like Milwaukee's going to move on. They're up 15 on the Bulls, so it looks like they're going to close it out. They still got a third and fourth quarter to play, so it looks like Milwaukee's going to move on and play Boston, which we talked about. That'd be a great series. The Bucks and the Celtics in the semifinals. Philly, Toronto. I think the Sixers are going to close it out. Of course, everybody is kind of like worried. Oh my gosh, is this another collapse by a Doc Rivers coach team? Are they going to collapse like so many of his other teams have in the past? I don't know, but I think the Sixers will pull that out. It'll be Sixers in Miami in the semifinals, which would be another great series. West, we talked about it. Memphis and Golden State. That's who I want, and then I'd like the Suns and Dallas. That would complete my semifinals matchups.
Yeah.
What about you?
Of course, the Phoenix Suns and Dallas, which I mentioned there.
Mm-hmm.
Same Golden State and Memphis, which we mentioned there. We're going just to the East, which those we didn't really have predictions there. I would like to see Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here on this end, I think I did give that prediction, which would be the Milwaukee Bucks, of course, going against Boston Celtics.
Those would all be great matchups, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. So no sleep from here on out until the finals are over.
Of course. And beyond that.
And yeah. Well, because once we go ahead and wrap up, or not even before we wrap up the playoffs, because actually the WNBA, they kick off their preseason tomorrow,
Right.
and then we have the season tipping off on May 6th, at least for the Phoenix Mercury, and then they'll be going. Sorry about that. They'll be go ahead and both teams, or at least for the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, having their seasons going on at the same time simultaneously. So we're probably going to see a little bit of what we saw last season, sharing the arena and the times, and kind of moving those around, shuffling those, and stuff. But but regardless, I'm excited because I'm gonna have double the basketball. How much more fun and exciting can that get? And of course, it is the Phoenix Mercury, the runner up in the WNBA finals, and getting to see Diana Taurasi return. And we have Tina Charles, we have Diamond, as well, and so many great additions. And it's just exciting to go ahead and see WNBA back and see what the Phoenix Mercury can do this season.
Joanna, you were out at media day. What did the feel of it be like as far as the basketball team? You talked to Diana Taurasi. You kicked some questions to her in Spanish, and she liked that. And you caught up with her afterwards, and she kind of gave you some props afterwards. So you're building that relationship with Diana Taurasi, that personal relationship with the Hall of Famer. How great does that feel? How was media day? Tell us about
it. The media day was super awesome, super fun. So yeah, I got to ask Diana a couple of questions, and then so they're just really excited to go ahead and work with Vanessa Nygaard, which is their new coach, and the experience that she has to contribute, and the new additions to the team they're just communication has been the major component, the key, since Vanessa has joined the Phoenix Mercury. And of course, granted, with those that are in camp now, because we have a couple, so like players that are out, like Breezy, she's still in Italy playing out there, but they're just excited to go ahead and come back, and just Diana is just using, unfortunately, the WNBA finals loss as a motivator, and just to go out there and be like, we can do this. We're going to go ahead and do it again. And having those two great additions, one of the two of the many additions that they have to the team. And come on, they're also WNBA veterans. One of those two, actually has a ring, with the Chicago Sky, which she was with last season. And so it's only adding, more to, it's like reloading. You're just loading up the Phoenix Mercury. So if you really want, a best of the best, the Phoenix Mercury is it, and they're really looking to go out there and repeat. And they're not getting any of the newness kind of get to them, whether that's in regards to Vanessa or even the new players that they have signed, because even come to it all, they all still know each other. They've even played together in some type of aspect, and they're there for each other. Like they're already like a family, and already helping each other out. Like even Diana Taurasi has given Tina Charles some great, have that conversation and some motivation, and how, even Tina Charles compared Diana Taurasi to Kobe Bryant, just being the GOAT out there, and Tina's out there, trying to find out, okay, Diana, when she's going to be in the gym, and she's going to be practicing, and when she's going to be shooting, and when, and all of that, so she can go ahead and mold herself after Diana. So it only speaks to the caliber of this team and what they're willing to do to go ahead and go to another WNBA finals.
How can the young ladies on this basketball team not learn from arguably one of the 5 greatest ladies to play this game? How can you not be in the presence of Diana Taurasi and not become a better woman, not just a better athlete, but a better woman, because of what she can impart to you?
Yeah, there's no way. Like everything that she has to contribute, whether that's on the court, off the court, game mentality, is like Diana is on a whole other level.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh,
and anything that these women take from her, or even just from each other, they use it to elevate themselves, to elevate the game, and just use it, even the negatives, just use it as a positive and learn from it. Um, they already like would say moving on from the loss, which was not easy, and it's this thing, but just utilizing like, okay, we've been there, we were there last year, we can go ahead and do it again, and learn from those mistakes, and just improve, and just get better, which they already have gotten better with with the players that they have.
Joe, of course, I have to ask you about the elephant in the room. How was Brittany Griner addressed?
Um, they're really having a hard time. They of course miss her dearly. And it's, of course, they realize and they know that it's a huge loss for BG not being with the team. And well, they already expected for BG to miss out at least the beginning portion of of the of the season, being that she was playing overseas, and so they have made the adjustments and talk about making those adjustments, and they're going to go ahead and continue making those adjustments. But just on the long run, just what same thing, like, what she has to bring, the energy, her personality, and everything all around it, off the court, not just talking on her, her game and her presence there, and what she has to contribute as an athlete, but also as a person, because she, you know, I can't remember who it was, but one of the gals she had mentioned, like, that was, she was so excited to go ahead and come and join the team, and go ahead and team up with BG, and to learn from her and just be around that energy and everything. And unfortunately, that's going to have to wait a little bit longer. So it's awesome. Like I mentioned, they are family and they're there for each other, and it really does hurt them to see what's happening, and that she's not with the team.
Yeah, that really is hard because she is one of the best to play the game, and she's a major contributor. She's a major part of the Mercury's success over the years since she arrived from Baylor, and for her to be in a situation, and for the Mercury to be kind of in limbo, kind of waiting to see what the future is going to hold. When is she going to get released? When is she going to come back? When is she going to be able to return to the Phoenix Mercury and play again? It has to be tough. You're right, Joanna, but business has the show has to roll, and the show doesn't stop just because of this situation. Unfortunately, I don't want to sound callous by saying that, but business has to continue to move on without Brittany.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, and then they're cognizant of that, and they're just trying not to to dwell on it for too long or too much. And yeah, it's a huge void that it's not going to be filled as much as you would like to not think about it so much. But they're just going to continue to go ahead and see what it is that they can do, make those adjustments. Of course, they have Tina Charles, who can help a little bit on that side, and at least on the court, to help the Mercury, and when it comes time to game time.
Joe, what are your impressions of Vanessa Nygaard, the new head coach? Do you like her?
I like her. She has a good aura to her. She's, of course, business, and going out there and going out there and competing. Of course, that's going to be number one, winning games. She spoke with Diana and what those expectations are, what needs to be done, tweak this here, tweak that there, tighten things up here. So they have definitely that communication. So she had, they're a really, really close knit, and I don't think that they're going to skip a beat from Sandy Bordello to Vanessa at all. Because really, if you come to think about it, even most major change was the coaching change. Other than that, yes, there were a couple of players that are not, they're no longer with the Mercury. We have those additions, but as far as the impact on the court, as saying that they got rid of all a major star, or that's a huge loss for the Mercury. No, on the contrary. So they're just reloading. They're just going out there, getting to know each other for those new additions, adjusting for BG not being there. But and then just Vanessa's business, going out there. Of course, a new feat for her. in the WNBA, that's something new for her as a head coach there. But other than that, it's nothing changes. It's still basketball, getting down to the basics, doing what needs to be done, adjusting what needs to be adjusted, and go out there competing and making another run to the playoffs and the WNBA finals is what's on all of their minds.
And having said all that, let's circle back to the GOAT. Let's circle back to Diana and her impact and how important she is to bridge that gap. You talked about the communication and her and Coach Nygaard building that relationship and that communication and how important that is. How important is it for Diana to be there to help speed this process up for Coach Nygaard? I know it's, as you mentioned, it's not an easy transition for her, especially not having BG, and she's trying to get used to a whole new organization, a whole new bunch of young ladies, and trying to get used to the way that Phoenix Mercury like the way things run, as opposed to the way she's had it run in other organizations she's been in.
Yeah, well, no, just going back to just having that communication, what Vanessa has to contribute and what she wants to go ahead and bring to the team from her experiences and what she sees, and each of these players have to contribute, go ahead and making sure that all those pieces fit together. Same thing with Diana, bringing that to Vanessa and her experience, how, okay, she sees something here, this needs to work better, this hasn't worked in the past, how they can go ahead and tweak that. It's just, that's, and then just all of them coming together and having a plan when it comes time to competing. And of course, what's going to be the better, who's going to mesh well with whom, which, regardless, all these women, they mesh very well together too. So it just kind of like when it comes time also, on who you're going up against, because, you have the Vegas Aces, you have Liberty, and you have the Chicago Sky. So, also with these additions, so with these women, they know they already have that kind of little bit of that advantage. So when it comes time to facing them, they know how that game plan is and how they can go ahead and be better prepared for it. So all of it is going to have to come down in the communication and strategizing.
Yeah. And over time, they'll, as you mentioned, they'll get to learn each other. She'll find the right matchups that she wants to do, the right starting five, the right bench play, the right players she wants to bring off the bench when things are going well. And she wants to keep that energy going when she wants to give her young ladies the breaks, the starters, and when things aren't going well. What substitutions, what five that she wants to put in to help quell whatever is not going right. It's just she's going to have to learn every single one of the young ladies on her roster, and they're going to have to learn her, but that'll come in time.
Yeah, definitely. And all of this, women, they have the talent, they have the knowledge. So they're all there, of course, to help each other out in the end. So, and that's what's most important. And you can see that with, the team, the players themselves, and helping each other. And the same thing with Vanessa, them helping her and her helping them as well. So, and, she's very cool. So, funny as well. She said a little bit of, she had a joke that she shared with us too. So she has sense of humor. So, which is good. You can do business, do your thing, but you also have that lightness and that you can bring in the fun as well.
Of course. If you can't have fun at work, then what are you in there for?
Right?
Yeah. What's it all about? Right, Joe?
Mm-hmm. You have to have fun. Come on.
Of course.
But no, I'm excited for the WNBA, for the Phoenix Mercury to go ahead and kick off. And of course, and having, how amazing would that be to have the last season for both teams repeat yet once again for each one of these. So I don't know that it has ever been done before, having two teams go back to playoffs like WNBA and NBA, and then much less back-to-back finals. So that's the hope, and I have my fingers crossed that does happen one more time, because that's a once in a lifetime situation.
And how special was it for the Suns and the Mercury to have what they had last year, Joanna, for the men to support the young ladies in their playoff run and what their run to the WNBA finals? Like Chris Paul was there and other Suns players were there rooting on those women, and just having that support system for them. I'm sure that really helped them just continue to ascend, because they know their brothers have their backs.
Yeah, no, and it continues, still. Yes, it's the off season, and now they're, of course, they're all back together. They share the same facility, and Vanessa mentioned this too. Like even with her coming on, like even Monty Williams and the organization with Phoenix Suns, just like open arms welcomed her, and just anything that's needed, from the staff to the facilities to, and then just that, support, it's there, and it still continues. They continue to support each other. So, and of course, that only speaks to the level of unity that these two teams have with one another.
And the fact that each organization wants the other to be successful and win championships, bring championships to the city of Phoenix and their fans. It's great.
Yes. So hopefully, I go ahead. Unfortunately, we have both teams go and not be able to bring that championship home. As much as it pains me to say that, but we're hopeful that will go ahead and be, go ahead and repeat the finals run, but have the opposite result.
But Joe, the great thing about making it to the NBA finals and the WNBA finals is they know that they don't want to go any further beyond backwards from where they've been to the mountaintop. They know how great it feels to make it there, and they know how tragic, how heartbreaking it was for them not to win, either team not to win. So they know, okay, we've got to put that work in if we want to really reach the mountaintop and go over and be champions.
Yeah. So and they definitely know that, and that was addressed slightly in the during media day today. I didn't go too much into it. Of course, I have content which we'll go ahead and I will put out, which was one of the questions that I had from, for Diana, as well. But it's just, yes, it hurts, it stings, but like even Kia Nurse as well, because she actually went down like first minute of the game, going into the finals. So for her, like it was even like amplified because she couldn't play and she just had to sit there and watch and then just see them not bring that trophy home. It was, even more amplified. So, and being in that situation, being injured and not be able to go ahead and help your team and contribute. So this year, that's her goal. Like each one of these players that we talked to today, and even the coach Vanessa Nygaard, like that's the one thing that they're all going for and what's on their mind. And that's the final result. Go ahead and go into the WNBA finals and bringing that championship home.
Yep. Because they saw, they witnessed what happened in Chicago when the Sky won it, and they were like, okay, this is not good. This does not feel good. We should be champions. This is not a good feeling. This can't happen again.
Yeah, it was painful. There wasn't even a press conference, afterwards, like none of the players, none of them came out and spoke. It was only Sandy, and that was it. Like that's how painful this was. And like even for me, not only as me, of course, media, but as a fan, it was crushing. And yes, they were the best team, and they're still, I consider them the best team in WNBA, along with, of course, Chicago Sky. But the Phoenix Mercury should have won that. Unfortunately, it didn't occur for reasons, but they're, just hoping for a different result this season.
Mm-hmm. That's why they play the games.
Mm-hmm. And they won't take anything less.
Yep. So what was the other question you asked Diana in Spanish? You said you asked her one question. What were the other question you asked her?
Oh, I think we covered them both. What was like just
okay.
Yeah, it was the how the team takes last year's experience, not reaching the finals, turning that into a motivator, and then which we did touch on, and then the other one was just the addition of having Tina and Diamond on the team, just going back, the veteranism, one of them has, of course, a ring and such. So yeah, we did touch on both of those.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Anything else that we want to touch on WNBA?
I'm just proud of you. You've got a high profile friend now.
I have a high profile friend. Thank you.
Yes. You've got the GOAT as your friend now.
Oh, so kind. Thank you. But we are almost at the end of the show. But before we go ahead and wrap things up, I just want to go ahead and touch on the NFL draft, which is tomorrow, Thursday. Pardon me. So we have, of course, the Arizona Cardinals, which they have a lot of needs, and wondering which if which of those or if all of them will be addressed, because there's so much that needs to they need to tighten up and a lot
Hmm.
to address.
Yeah.
Um, we will not even go into the Kyler Murray front. The only thing that I will go ahead and say with Kyler Murray, that the trade possibility of Kyler Murray being traded, that's been shut down, and that will not happen per general manager Steve Keim. So we'll go ahead and nip that there for now, because if we go into this topic, Ed, we're just gonna go ahead and go on for like another hour. So, but then one of the things that is for the NFL draft that I'm seeing and analyzing is it's an expectation of a lot of quarterbacks going, they're being drafted from this draft.
Yeah, me too. And just where they're going to go and how effective can they be? Whatever quarterback goes to whatever team, will they be elevated to that starting status? Will they work themselves up in OTAs and mini camps and training camp to eventually become the number one, to become QB number one? So we'll see starting tomorrow night and through the rest of the weekend where these quarterbacks go, and as these camps go on and these teams and these head coaches figure out if these young men can start off and be the leader of our football teams, then they'll be that.
Yeah. And I'll definitely be keeping a close eye with, being local here with the Arizona Cardinals and the needs that they need, needs that they need to be met. That's kind
Yes.
of weird to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of needs. Yes.
But yeah, we have, of course, special teams, like how that's going to be addressed. I'm just talking season wise. They need to also address their defense. They need to address their offense, of course. That definitely needs a whole lot of work. Having someone to second in line to JJ Watt, having someone who can also go back off of Hopkins, to go ahead and be able to not have the errors and those mistakes that were done last season, because there were so many mistakes that should not have been made, and which caused them the losses. Somewhere, to help Kyler Murray and in the pocket, or there's just so much. Like, are they going to get on a linebacker offensive on OL, or what's going to happen? Because I don't know that even the Arizona Cardinals can go ahead and have all of their needs met, not only in the draft, but that they're able to go ahead and make the adjustments needed this season if they're wanting to go ahead and contend in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you touched on at least needing a wide receiver. We know Christian Kirk went on to Jacksonville. He got his payday. He's gone and he's off the greener pastures. Good for that brother. He went off and got his money. He got his bag. He got bags of money, Joanna. So yes, they're gonna have to address.
Major loss.
They're gonna have to address the wide receiver situation, the running back situation. For me,
Chandler Jones.
it always starts in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. We know Chandler Jones is off to the Las Vegas Raiders. He's gone. So how do you fill that void, Joanna? One of the most dominant defensive players in this game is going to the Raiders. So how do you fill that void? What kind of production can you get in the draft or through free agency? So offensive line and defensive line, of course, those are two things that the Arizona Cardinals and every football team needs to address, because if you have a weak offensive line, you're not going to do anything offensively. If you don't get anybody strong on the defensive line, what kind of push are you going to get against opposing offenses? So they've got to strengthen both of those sides. And of course, losing Patrick Peterson, of course, they've got to find a potential another cornerback that could potentially come in and be. I know it's hard to replace what Patrick did when he was here, but is there a cornerback out there, Joanna, that can be that guy? Can they get another safety? Can they get another strong safety that can go up and be a nice complement to Budda Baker?
I don't know. I totally thank you for saying that, because I had totally spaced on Patrick Peterson. I think because of how much of a loss I decided to go ahead and block that pain out of my system. He's gonna be that's a major void that I don't know how the Arizona Cardinals are gonna fill. And yeah, Budo Baker, like he's alone out there. I don't know who would complement and would come and play. Like I'm just trying to think, even if there's a trade possible out there, if it comes down, would it come down to that? Who would replace Patrick Peterson?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that'll be up to general manager Steve Keim and owner Michael Bidwell and their staffs to say, okay, this is the talent that we see in the NFL draft, that we see in these rounds. And if we don't get it in the draft, Joanna, we've got to scour the free agent market. Once free agency is open and ready to go, once that section of the business year is open for business, they've got to jump on that and find who could be some good additions from a free agency standpoint.
And that's such a long time from now, because when the time that they should have taken advantage of that just passed. Any of the needs that they needed to be filled should have been this last free agency, because now you're just too far, now you're having to depend on the NFL draft. And then if needs aren't filled there, trades, which any good, of whichever one of these, whether it's the OL, wide receiver, whichever type of position you're trying to get filled, you have a caliber player out there, that team is not going to give them up.
Of course not.
Really, they're not. So, and then now you have to wait until next, free agency, which is a while, and that, I don't know that's going to be, that just timing wise, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's tough, but maybe they'll find somebody, put them on the practice squad, and there's plenty of young men that have made practice squads on football teams and have been elevated to the start the 53-man roster and have made impacts on football teams. So maybe they find a diamond in the rough in one of their practice squads, and he comes up, or he's meaning multiple he's in different positions for the football team, not just a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. Maybe a linebacker steps up, maybe a strong safety, maybe a cornerback lines up, and Cliff Kingsbury, they catch his eye, and he's like, okay, I think I can work with these guys.
You know what? This is when we need Larry Fitzgerald, or somewhere along those lines, to where it's like, you can have a player that you can go ahead and play all of these different positions, because that's what, and with Fitz, what it ended up being.
Yes, but Fitz is doing his philanthropy right now. Fitz is busy.
I know.
He's doing this thing right now, and he's doing a
wishful thinking.
I know. Of course, it'd be great to have him back. It'd be great to have 11 back, but 11's in a different state of mind right now as far as his life is concerned, and great for him.
And he's the chairman for the Super Bowl that's coming up here in February for next year.
And could you have found a better chairman? And Joe, could you have found a better chairman than Larry Fitzgerald for the Super Bowl committee? Nope.
Not at all.
Nope.
So we'll let him be. But I'm just like, this is something to point out. We need something of that caliber and that nature, unless they have someone I can't even think of someone who we have now that can be, groomed to be playing multiple positions as Fitz did.
That's tough. But we'll see.
Again, diamond in the rough is what we can hope for the best right now.
Yep. Or diamonds in the rough. It'd be great to have multiple diamonds that you can shine up and polish.
Yeah.
And just put them on display, right?
Totally.
You like the way I described that? You like the way that description?
I did. That was a good one.
Yeah.
You have a lot of good passages today. Well, unless you have anything more, Ed, that you want to go ahead and speak out on, that would wrap up our show for today.
I think we're good. We're at 59 minutes. Let's get to an hour and get the folks out of here.
Yeah. All right, Ed. So go ahead and let our awesome people know where it is that they can find you.
Yes, Twitter at EdCole43. You'll see it on the screen. Let me move my finger. There it is. Twitter at EdCole43, IG at EdwardCole301, and Facebook Edward Cole.
And for those who might not know what IG is, it's Instagram. There may be some new people that some people that may be new to social media, or who knows? You never know.
Sure, yeah, you're right.
All those acronyms, even if they are not new to social media, because I know I still have people ask me what's IG. So, yes.
Okay.
All right, then. So you can go ahead and find me, Joanna Rosalie, on both Instagram and Twitter at JROSALYE. And of course, you can find Inside Sports Network on Instagram at Inside Sports Net, excuse me. You can find on Twitter, Inside Sports _. Make sure you go ahead and look us up and like our page on Facebook at Inside Sports Network. And then visit our website, insidesports.net, where we go ahead and also share some more content in there with you. And you can also locate our podcast, or you can look us up and from wherever it is you listen to podcasts and download Inside Sports Talk. And we have, I will have Punto Deportivo, our Spanish sports podcast, a new episode out for you on Friday with some special guests. And we'll be talking NBA, NFL, and MLB as well. And then Ed will be bringing you an episode of Courtside tomorrow afternoon.
Along with Miss Joanna Rosalie.
Yes, I will be joining Ed on that as well. But until then, thank you everyone for tuning in. This was Inside Sports Talk.